This is Valley View News, and here are today's headlines. Cal State Northridge hosted a fair for special needs resources. Art is now being used for therapeutic purposes. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention hopes to reduce the number of suicides.
Hello, and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Amber Partida.
And I'm Dahlia Perez.
President Donald Trump is disputing an account of a phone call he had with the widow of a U.S. soldier. This happened after the death of her husband, LaDavid Johnson, in Niger earlier this month. Johnson was one of 4 soldiers killed in an ambush attack. Maisha Johnson is the widow of the sergeant. She told Good Morning America that she was disappointed in the phone call with Trump. Johnson says he stumbled on her husband's name.
I heard him stumbling on trying to remember my husband's name. And that what hurt me the most, because if my husband is out here fighting for our country and he risks his life for our country, why can't you remember his name?
Congresswoman Frederica Wilson is a close friend of the family. She claims Trump said, quote, "Johnson knew what he signed up for, but I guess it still hurt." Shortly after Wilson's appearance on the morning show, the president tweeted, "I had a very respectful conversation with the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson and spoke his name from the beginning without hesitation."
Some senators are saying they didn't know the U.S. had troops in Niger. The Pentagon says it told Congress about the operation. The military is still investigating the incident. The White House said it told congressional leaders in June about the hundreds of troops conducting counterterrorism duties in Central Africa. Some Republican House members said they were aware of the operation. Oklahoma Republican Representative Steve Russell says he knew about the troops and says it's not an issue.
The California wildfires are triggering mental health issues for some. Mental health is often neglected after disasters. Communities tend to focus more on rebuilding their homes rather than themselves. Experts say traumatic experiences can lead to post-traumatic stress disorders. Some people returning home can suffer flashbacks, sleep disorders, and anxiety. Sonoma County Health Department spokesman Scott Alonso says health workers give psychological first aid to some evacuees. The California wildfires killed more than 40 people. Tens of thousands were displaced from their homes.
Major cleanup continues weeks after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico. The small suburb of Levittown is getting help. Trash was piled on the sidewalks after Hurricane Maria hit. Couches, TVs, refrigerators, and clothes all accumulated. The trash piles attract mosquitoes and rodents, creating dangerous health risks. The island also had overflowing landfills. The EPA says most of Puerto Rico's 29 operating landfills were already beyond capacity a year ago. The Army Corps of Engineers hired a contractor to separate the hazardous waste from organic material.
First Lady Melania Trump addressed bullying during her recent visit to Michigan. The First Lady attended a Detroit middle school to participate in the No One Eats Alone Day event. The event encourages children to not leave alone others during lunchtime. She promised to fight bullying. Trump spokesperson Stephanie Grisham says the First Lady wants students to know the bad side of social isolation. Last month, President Trump said he wanted to use Melania's position to help fight bullying. Some critics say her husband often engages in it.
The remains of 2 missing hikers were found last week in Joshua Tree National Park. Autopsies show the cause of death to be a murder-suicide. The couple, Joseph Orbeso and Rachel Nguyen, were reported missing July 27th. They were last seen entering Joshua Tree the day before. A park ranger found their bodies locked in an embrace. Officials suspect a mercy killing, but the exact motive is not known.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. Valley View reporter Maybelline Kapalou has more from the Digital News Center.
Thank you, Amber. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention hosted a community walk in Santa Monica last weekend. Hundreds attended the walk. People came to support the movement to reflect and remember loved ones they've lost to suicide. The AFSP has been hosting the Out of Darkness community walk nationwide since 2004.
I know some friends who've had this issue as well, and it's like, it's for everybody that in my life that has struggled with this, that they're not alone, and I'm there to support them whenever they need me.
The walk helps educate the public on mental illness and suicide prevention. Proceeds go to programs supporting suicide awareness.
I started the Don Cornelius Foundation. My father committed suicide in 2012. My dad, I never had any clue that he felt the way he felt.
People feel that they have to stay silent. My biggest piece of advice is just reach out. That first time will open so many doors and opportunities.
AFSP says the walks are about turning hope into action. They helped pass 2 bills last year. One of the bills requires high schools to enforce suicide prevention policies.
What I've learned throughout the process is that you have to listen and you have to talk.
Suicide affects 1 out of 5 families in the U.S. AFSP hopes to reduce suicide rates 20% by 2025. Back to you.
Operation Jungle Book is the biggest animal trafficking sweep in LA history. Tigers, lizards, and other endangered species were seized by LAX authorities. A Bengal tiger cub was seized at the California-Mexico border. An 18-year-old man was trying to smuggle it. Meanwhile, the tiger was sent to the San Diego Zoo. 16 people were arrested. They all face federal trafficking charges. Some could get up to 20 years in prison if convicted.
Fire officials say North Hollywood may have a serial arsonist at large. The suspected arsonist may have struck last Friday night. Authorities got a call last Friday night about a shed fire on Kittredge Avenue. An accelerant was apparently poured at the scene. Witnesses saw someone light the fire, then run away. The suspect is a man wearing dark clothes and driving a silver or gray Lexus. The fire is the 10th one set in a 2-mile radius this month. At least 3 cars were destroyed.
Now to Shelby Charlene, our media, tech, and social media reporter. Shelby, what's up for today?
Thanks, Amber. I've got some great stuff today. Apple's new store concept, Town Square, opened up in Chicago just in time for National iPod Day. Apple's 497th store is a beautiful glass-covered building that sits right on the Chicago River. The store doesn't have a Genius Bar, but instead a Genius Grove. It also has a large amount of underground space dedicated to showcasing their latest products. The roof of the building also resembles a giant laptop, something that tech expert John Voorhees says was intentional.
It incorporates a lot of elements that we've seen in Apple Park, which is the new campus out in Cupertino for Apple. The Steve Jobs Theater in particular has the same kind of glass walls, and it also has some elements that I've seen in the Union Square store in San Francisco. It's part of a whole new redesign of the flagship stores that Apple's been rolling out across the world.
The location replaces the company's flagship store on North Michigan Avenue, which opened in 2003. Apple's newest addition to its worldwide chain will provide regular services, sell their products, and host educational programs in the heart of the city. A new bipartisan bill is the first major effort to regulate online ads on sites like Facebook, Google, and Twitter. The bill, known as the Honest Ad Act, seeks to regulate online ads in a similar way to traditional TV, radio, and print advertising. It would impose regulations on social platforms, websites, ad networks, and other sites with at least 50 million users per month. The bill was introduced by Democratic Senators Mark Warner and Amy Klobuchar. Republican Senator John McCain also gave the bill its bipartisan boost. According to the Wall Street Journal, Japanese tech company SoftBank announced that they're considering an investment of more than $1 billion in workspace development company WeWork. This could be one of the first investments from the tech giant's $100 billion technology fund that they announced last October. Billionaire and CEO of SoftBank, Masayoshi Son, also says that he plans to launch more funds. CNN confirmed that Sun said Visions 2, 3, and 4 will be established every 2 to 3 years. The current fund is backed by Saudi Arabia and major companies like Apple and Foxconn. Sun said that over the next decade, he wants to raise about $880 billion and invest in 1,000 companies. Some potentially great news for many startups. And according to President Trump's Twitter last December, more than half of the fund's $100 billion is going to American companies. Sun also told the president that his investments will create 50,000 new U.S. jobs. Twitter is rolling out new safety features and rules to fight hate and online abuse. The site is banning hateful display names and introducing rules that ban hate groups and regulate hateful or unwanted sexual advances. Another updated feature allows witnesses of online abuse to report the offender. Twitter also released a timeline graphic detailing its plans to have all of the new safety features implemented by January of 2018. Looks like that's all I have for you today. Back to you.
Thank you, Shelby. Consider ditching your therapist and turn to art instead.
Also, all 8-wall prototypes are complete. More after the break.
What if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
You made this vacation happen, cleverly merging promotions,
double points with every purchase,
and cross-referencing travel sites. Aloha! If you can ace your vacation, you can do it for retirement. Get on track with tips at aceyourretirement.org.
Art has become a popular form of therapy. Valley View News reporter Erin Lanusa has more on the story.
Adding detail. She's kind of cool.
A pad of paper, some markers, and a verbal cue from a professional.
If this had a title, what would it be?
Art therapist Kalumai Krudani conducts these sessions in her home in Woodland Hills. It's the practice of art therapy.
I would name it Motions.
And it's built a reputation in the U.S. in the mid-1960s.
Art therapy is traditional talk therapy. It's utilizes the same thing, but you use art as a tool within the therapy.
If she had something to say, what would she say?
Krudani is asking her newest participant, Kiera, to look at symbols in her art and put a name to what she sees.
So, for some reason, I just feel like she's somewhere dancing. I don't know. I didn't expect too much. I expected it to be different, and for me to control my answers. Rather than talking about themselves, all of a sudden they're talking about the art and stuff magically comes out. I definitely felt myself talking to myself. And it tends to be a lot faster, too, than just talk therapy on its own. And I was like, oh my God, I'm talking too much. Like, I'm saying too much. Like, let me be quiet.
Krudani says a person doesn't need to know how to draw to be able to engage in some of these exercises.
So if you want to try this on your own, just think the way Krudani does. Start with some scribbles on a piece of paper, and then ask yourself, really, what do you see? In Sun Valley, I'm Erin Lanusa.
The last 2 prototypes for President Trump's proposed border wall have been completed. There are 8 in total. The prototypes are displayed on a construction site in San Diego. Companies had until last week to finish their models. Each model costs the government up to $500,000.
The Trump administration is considering temporarily stopping a program that reunites refugees with their families. The proposal would pause the U.S. Refugee Family Reunification Program until people entering the country go through a screening process. The administration may also require women to have security checks performed on them. Those checks are performed by various agencies and are commonly Security Advisory Opinions, or SAOs. Currently, only men entering the U.S. from at-risk countries undergo SAOs.
Some retired Air Force pilots could be recalled back to active duty. President Trump signed an executive order last week that allows military branches to recall as many service members as needed. An existing law allows each military branch to recall up to 25 officers at a time. The President Trump's executive order removes those limits. It also expands on the state of emergency, which was declared by President George W. Bush after the 9/11 terror attacks. The Air Force currently needs 1,500 more pilots. U.S. forces capture Syria's largest oil field. Syrian Democratic Forces spokesperson says they liberated the oil field by pushing ISIS out with little damage. In 2014, ISIS seized Syria's Al Omar oil field. ISIS fighters are now trapped in Deir ez-Zor, Syria's largest city, between U.S.-backed forces and Russia-backed Syrian regime forces. U.S. coalition stated Monday that ISIS oil production will now be reduced by about 50 million per month.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says the United States is willing to talk to the Taliban. Tillerson made the comments during a surprise visit to Afghanistan on Monday. The secretary was in Kabul for about 2 hours. Security for the Afghan stop was extra tight because of the recent surge in violence in the city.
There are, we believe, moderate voices among the Taliban voices that do not want to continue to fight forever. They don't want their children to fight forever. So we're looking to engage with those voices and have them engage in a reconciliation process leading to a peace process, and their full involvement and participation in the government. There's a place for them in the government if they're ready to come renouncing terrorism, renouncing violence, and being committed to a stable, prosperous Afghanistan.
Tillerson said the goal of U.S. strategy is to end the fighting, and they are open to dialogue.
Trump's administration tax reform has some setbacks. The House and Senate are negotiating budgets before passing the bill. President Donald Trump tweeted there will be no change to the 401k. The New York Times says House Republicans want a tax reduction on the plan. This could result in higher taxes for the middle class. Senator Mitch McConnell says the goal is to get middle-class taxes down and prevent job exportation.
Let's check in with Star Harvey for entertainment. Hi, Star.
Hi, Dahlia. Thank you. 5 living former U.S. presidents came together for a relief concert last week. The concert was set to aid victims for Hurricanes Irma, Harvey, and Maria. Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, and Jimmy Carter attended the One American Appeal concert at Texas A&M University. The concert featured multiple musical guests with a special guest appearance by Lady Gaga.
Mr. President, I salute you.
Current President Donald Trump was not present for the concert, but did share a video message thanking the former presidents for their assistance and support. The appeal has raised nearly $33 million since it launched last month. The NFL has confirmed Justin Timberlake as the headliner for the 2018 Super Bowl halftime show. This marks Timberlake's first return since the famous Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction at the 2004 Super Bowl. Controversy has started on Twitter this week in response to the NFL's decision. Hashtag Justice for Janet is being used to call out the NFL officials for not lifting Jackson's ban. Timberlake could be the first individual entertainer to perform 3 times on the Super Bowl stage. It's unclear whether anyone will be joining him this time around. The game will take place in Minneapolis, Minnesota's Bank Stadium on Sunday, February 4th. It's been 3 weeks since reports from the New York Times exposed claims against Harvey Weinstein. Soon after the allegation, Weinstein's released a statement apologizing for causing a lot of pain. Since then, more than 40 women have come forward to accuse Weinstein of inappropriate behavior, including the Oscar-winning actress Lupita Nyong'o. The interview last week, Nyong'o detailed Weinstein's behavior directed at her. In over 40 other accusations, Weinstein and his representative have stayed mostly quiet. For unknown reason, Weinstein issued a more specific statement in response to Nyong'o. This statement has sparked controversy, suggesting racial elements were a part of singling her out. Hollywood director Quentin Tarantino says he knew about Weinstein's behavior with women before the recent allegations surfaced. He said, quote, "I knew enough to do more than I did." This comes weeks after the Hollywood producer was accused with allegations of sexual harassment and assault. Tarantino told the New York Times that his former girlfriend, Mira Sorvino, also reported unwelcome advances. He said he failed to consider the incidences he was aware of to be a part of a larger abuse. Tarantino says he reached out to Weinstein after the allegation but hasn't gotten a response. Ed Sheeran is opening up about substance abuse factor into his year-long break from music. In an interview on the Jonathan Ross Show, Sheeran talked about how he manages his fame. The musician says he's cut down on alcohol, and the star also credits his girlfriend with helping him stay on the right path. After a 2-week suspension, sports anchor Jemele Hill is set to return back to ESPN this week. The host was suspended after she violated the network's guidelines for the second time. First, Hill bashed President Donald Trump on Twitter, calling him a white supremacist. After a major backlash from the White House, Hill issued an apology for painting ESPN in an unfair light. About a month later, Hill then spoke out against Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. Hill said that Jones placed an unfair burden on his players, forcing black and brown players to choose football over the community they represent. Hill told TMZ Sports last week that the time was reflective that she had off and that she was very thankful for her supporters and happy to be back. As for Twitter, Hill said that she does plan on getting back to the social media site. That's all I have for you today. Back to you.
Thanks, Star. Well, blue is the new pink. A famous spot in Hollywood is honoring the Dodgers with a grand gesture.
And the latest in sports when we get back.
Green hat. Red hat. Oops. Red shirt. Blue shirt. Yellow shirt. Oops. Yellow pants. Red pants. Green pants. Oops.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Pink's Hot Dogs is going blue to celebrate the Dodgers clinching the World Series. The hot dog stand on Fairfax has repainted their building with Dodger Blue and has replaced their iconic marquee with a sign that says Pink is now Dodger Blue. This is the first time they swapped their sign in 78 years. It's been 29 years since the Dodgers won a World Series. Dodgers face the Houston Astros in the World Series as they seek to win it all.
Well, can you believe it, Daniel? The Dodgers made it to the World Series.
Say it one more time.
They made it to the World Series.
Dodgers are in the World Series. It's hard to believe. It's finally happened. It's here, and we're ready to win this thing. Yes, after 29 years of sitting here at this time of year wondering why not us, the Dodgers are finally in the World Series. They'll look to make Houston have a problem as they take on the Astros. But in the meantime, while the Dodgers are trying to become baseball's king, the Rams traveled to a place that's all about the Queen. They played their annual home game across the pond in London, and there's someone who knows all about flying across the world. It's Supergirl. Well, no, that's Arizona Cardinals backup quarterback Drew Stanton wearing the costume. He lost some sort of bet to starter Carson Palmer during practice. There's Palmer under center in the second quarter, and he meets his own kryptonite. Rams safety LaMarcus Joyner picks him off and goes for 29 yards the other way, but things will get worse than that. Palmer gets annihilated on the play, breaking his left arm on the way down. He could miss the remainder of the season. Rams take over after that. Handoff to Todd Gurley, who fights off Cardinals left and right. He has a London eye on the end zone and puts the Rams up 12. Late in the half now, Rams offense is flowing through London like the River Thames, and even Jared Goff would show off the wheels. There he goes on the QB keeper for only his second career rushing touchdown. Meanwhile, the Cardinals offense only had superpowers during warm-ups. The Rams leave London with tea, crumpets, and a big old donut. That's because they shut out Arizona to the tune of 33-0. Rams are definitely driving on the right side of the road this year. They have a 5-2 record for the first time since 2003. Well, up until Sunday afternoon, the Rams had more home wins in London than the Chargers had in L.A. They had lost every single one of their home games since moving here. They look to change that against the division rival Denver Broncos. First quarter now. Travis Benjamin, he goes back to field a punt, and he finds space, and he's a powder keg in the powder blue unis. Off he goes. He's gone untouched for 65 yards. Chargers up a touchdown. Second quarter, Rivers swings one out to Austin Eckler, who's fired up after tacking on 6 more, playing a little air guitar for the StubHub Center crowd. Chargers defense played sound all day, pressuring Trevor Siemian. They forced turnovers like this fumble, and then came this timely fourth quarter interception by Casey Hayward. He takes it a few yards and decides to take a knee. Yeah, I feel you, Broncos, bro. Late in the fourth, and here's Travis Benjamin again over the middle for his second touchdown of the day. He goes all the way into the end zone, fired up. Be careful, boys, don't fall. Chargers take it by a final of 21-0 and get that elusive first home win. After starting the season 0-4, they've suddenly won 3 in a row. The last 2 wins of those were against division opponents. Both of LA's football teams must have been inspired by the Dodgers. They both pitched a shutout, giving up a combined 0 points on Sunday. Well, from Rivers to the Lakers, the big question heading into Sunday night's game against the Pelicans is which Lonzo Ball would show up. The second overall pick had only 3 points in his debut, but scored 29 points the next night. There's Ball and the Lakers in their Sunday whites. This one, though, was all about the New Orleans star. Anthony Davis throws down a dunk in the first quarter, and he keeps that up, throwing down a dunk in the third. He did that and everything else in between. He led the team with 27 points. Lakers were down by as much as 21 points, but not so fast. Jordan Clarkson knocks down a three and gets fouled for a 4-point play. Lakers go on a wild 20-5 scoring run and even take the lead. Julius Randle throwing it down. Here's Lonzo Ball with a chance to widen that lead, but there he is again. He's big baller blocked by Anthony Davis. The Pelicans take it down and away for the score, and that proved to be the final momentum killer. Lakers got stuck on 110 points and can't regain the lead. They watch the Pelicans fly away with it, losing a good battle by a final of 119-112. Lakers are home to the Washington Wizards next on Wednesday. Well, in hockey, the Kings beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 6-4 last weekend. That win tied their franchise record for points at the start of the season. They continue a big road trip into Eastern Canada this week, but right now it's obviously all about those Dodgers. Keep it right here next week. We'll be sure to have full World Series coverage for you. Hopefully it's good news. Guys?
Thanks, Daniel. The largest special needs resource fair in LA County took place at Cal State Northridge this weekend. Valley View reporter Kelcey Henderson has the story.
CSUN's Family Focused Resource Center hosted its 5th annual Special Needs Resource Fair last weekend. The goal of the event? To connect families with the right resources.
And it's a place for where you have kids with special needs, you know, you're not worried about them, what other people would see as misbehaving, but them just being themselves.
This fair was the biggest in LA County. It hosted 80 exhibitors who provided different resources for children of all ages and needs, including dance therapy.
They gain so much out of just doing dance therapy. In this case, movement. So not as much choreography.
The fair also provided food trucks, a photo booth with props, therapy dogs available to pet, carnival-style games, and live music entertainment.
When you have questions, you say, well, I'm looking for after-school swimming for my special needs kid. Then someone says, oh, wait, we've got something, or we know of something, and that's the best way to really help parents.
One of the sponsors of the fair was We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gym, who provided a sensory room for the kids to play in.
My 5-year-old, she has autism, and she's just she's very confident with it, and she's playing with all the activities.
The Family Focused Resource Center says they hope to continue to provide support and resources for families and caregivers of children with special needs. In Northridge, for Valley View News, I'm Kelcey Henderson.
Thank you, Kelcey. Last week, red flag warnings were issued from Santa Barbara to San Diego. Fire officials have been preparing for possible fires in Southern California. The combination of dryness and vegetation, 60 miles per hour winds, and temperatures in the triple digits cause concerns for fire officials. UCLA climate scientist Daniel Swain said that California's brush trees can be primed to ignite due to the weather conditions.
A study says air pollution killed up to 9 million people worldwide in 2015. Air pollution has by far been the largest contributor to early death. About 92% of illnesses from pollution occur among the people living in low and middle income countries. Disease caused by pollution is most prevalent to minorities and the marginalized. Dr. Philip Landrigan says chemicals are the problem.
Thanks for joining us today. From Valley View News, I'm Dahlia Perez.
And I'm Amber Partita. See you next time.